Hello everyone and welcome to episode 7 of the SAP TechByte series on ABAP Core Data Services. Today we are going to discuss a very important and widely used part of CDS views, annotations. Annotations allow you to add domain-specific metadata and text labels to CDS objects that goes beyond the syntax features of ABAP SQL. This means that it enhances the technical properties of CDS view entities, such as adding search capabilities or controlling access to your data. Annotations are defined using the @ symbol and fall under one of the two categories, either ABAP annotations or framework-specific annotations. ABAP annotations define technical and semantic attributes of a CDS object that are evaluated by the ABAP runtime framework when the object defined in the CDS source code is activated or when the object is used in the ABAP runtime environment. ABAP annotations can modify the behavior of ABAP SQL statements that access a CDS object. Some examples of ABAP annotations are access control for authorization check, end-user text for heading or labels, semantics for currency code or unit of measure, etc. On the other hand, we have framework-specific annotations that define the technical and semantic properties of CDS objects that are required by specific software components such as OData, UI, and analytics. They are evaluated by the framework of the corresponding software components using suitable APIs and are not relevant for activation and the ABAP runtime environment. Some examples of framework annotations are consumption for default value or value help definition, search annotations for searchable or default search element, UI annotations for positions in the list view, and many more. Opening the tooltip information or F2 key for annotations in ABAP development tools for Eclipse or ADT shows some technical details and the annotation documentation for a CDS annotation. To find annotations relevant for your scenario, just click on Open Development Object function in ADT and search for objects of type DDLA. Let us now check some of the recommended annotations that are contained in the standard template for view entities that is delivered by SAP as part of ABAP Development Tools for Eclipse. It explains why these annotations are recommended and why they are set to a particular value by default. Let's see this view. In this view, first we have ABAP Catalog View Enhancement category, which shows whether a view can be extended. The default value is none, which means extensions are disabled by default. Next, we have Access Control Authorization Check that shows how access controls are evaluated. Here, the default value is set to not required, which means access controls are optional. Next comes the end-user text label, which is used to provide a short description for a view entity. Then we have metadata ignore propagated annotation, which is usually set to true, which means inheritance and derivation of annotations are switched off by default, thereby ensuring stability of consumer views in higher layers, even if annotations are added or changed. Then comes the object model usage type annotations, which consists of valuable information for the customers and should be set very carefully. Here we have object model usage type service quality, which specifies the performance aspects of a view entity and the default value is set to X. Then we have object model usage type size category, which specifies the size category of a view entity and the template comes with the default value S. Finally, we have object model usage type data class, which specifies the data category of a view entity, which comes with the default value mixed. Here, please note that SAP delivers a predefined set of CDS annotations and only these can be used, which means user-defined annotations are currently not supported. So now let's see a short demo that shows how to use some of these annotations like UI annotations, value help, or search annotations, and how they enrich the logic and the data model of the CDS view with additional information. So for the purpose of this demo, we'll be using a travel view, and as you can see here, I have not added any of the annotations here to this view. So what we'll be doing here is we'll add annotations one by one and we'll preview the results to see the difference. So let's go to ADT, and this is my projection view. As you can see, I've just added the label for the name for the projection view and nothing else. Yes, we have added some currency code annotations, but that's all. So now let's do one thing. Let's create the annotations for each column or the field in the view. So it's always possible to add these annotations in the projection view itself. But in order to improve the readability of the view, it is always better to create a metadata extension and create the annotations there. So as you can see here, this is my metadata extension. Let's do one thing. Let's add one column now and see the result. So let's add UI line item at position 10 and we'll be adding the field travel ID. Let's activate the metadata. So once it is activated, let's go back to patient, refresh it to see the difference. And here you can see that now there is a new column travel ID that has come up. So click on go to see the values of all the travel IDs that are available in our view. Okay, so this is just one view. Let's add all the other columns to this view similarly and see the results. For that, again, go back to ADT. Keep adding the other columns. Activate the view. So let's go back to the application, refresh it. So now click on go to view the values for all these columns. Okay, so this is the result. So now we have added all the columns to this view. Now, what you can see here is we have the travel ID code or the agency code written over here, right? So now let us try to display the descriptions for all these values in the view. So for that, again, go to ADT. So here, let's try first for the travel ID field. So let's create a label. End user text label, let's give it like travel. So now let's add the description, object model, text element, and description. Let's activate the projection view, refresh the application, click on go, and now you can see that instead of the travel ID, we are now able to see the travel description. Similarly, do the same thing for the other fields like agency ID, customer ID, and status. And let's check it again. So go back to ADT. So let's copy the annotation to save some time. So this would be agency name. So here, instead of agency ID, we have to pull in the name of the agency. So for that, use the agency name field as agency name. Okay, and similarly do the same process for customer ID. So here the label would be customer, and so let's display the last name. So in order to get the last name, we have to pull in the last name field from the customer. Now finally, overall status. So let's name it as a status. and travel status. Okay, and maybe we can also change the local last change that. By giving a label only. Okay, now activate the projection view. Now refresh the application to view the changes. Okay, so click on Go. So here in this result, you can see that instead of travel, we are getting the travel description. Agency ID, we are getting agency description. Customer, again, same thing. We are getting the customer name or the last name to be specific. And in the status, we are getting the status description. So now you can also notice one thing that we are also getting the travel IDs or the agency IDs within brackets in addition to the description. So let's remove the agency ID field. So for that also we will be adding one annotation. Let's see. So for that again go to the metadata extension and add the annotation UI dot text arrangement and give the value text only. Do the similar thing for all the other columns where you are also getting the IDs in addition to the description, like agency ID, customer ID, and status. Okay, activate the metadata extension. Once it is activated, again refresh the application, click on Go. So now you can see that we are not displaying the IDs in addition to the description in all the other fields like travel, agency, customer, and status. Okay, so now let us create a heading travel for this particular list. For that, again go to ADT. So for that, again go to the metadata extension and add the annotation UI header info. Okay, so we have added the header info. Now let's activate it. Refresh the view. So here you can see a heading travels. Click on Go. Now you can see that it has given the count of all the records available in the travel view. So that's also done. Now, as a next step, we'll add some filter values like agency ID, customer ID, and status. So let's see how it is done. Let's go back to ADT again. In the metadata extension, we have to add the position where you would like to display the filter fields. Let's add UI.selection field and mention the position as 10. So this means agency ID will be the first field that will be available for a filter. So let's do the same thing for customer. Customer will be at position number 20. And let's do the same thing for overall status. It will be at position 30. Activate the metadata extension. Again, go back to the app, refresh it. Okay, so here already you can see that there are 3 filter fields that has come up in the view: agency, customer, and status. So this is how it looks now. Okay. Now, the next step would be to add a value help to all these 3 fields. So let's see how it is done. Again, back to ADT. And open the projection view. So in order to add value help to the agency field, let's go to the projection view and add the annotation consumption dot value help definition entity. Name as TMS I agency. Element is agency ID. Okay, so we have added the value help definition for the field agency. So now let's do the same thing for the customer ID field. Let's add the value help. So here, the name of the entity would be DMOI underscore customer. And the element would be customer ID. So do the same thing for status field. Here, the name of the entity would be, just check the name of the status view in your Project Explorer. For me, it is VI underscore FE underscore stat underscore 001427. And let's quickly check what does the field ID or field name. So it is travel status ID. So replace the element with that particular name. Okay, so once that is also replaced, activate the projection view again. Okay, so once it is active, again go back to the application, refresh it. Okay, so now click on the agency F4 help and you can see that there are values displayed in the value help. Similarly for customer and status field also. Okay, just select some value for the customer and let's say status and click on go. And you can see that the results are displayed by filtering based on the values that we have provided in the filter fields. Okay, so now one more thing what we can do here is that for the status, you can already see that there are only 3 values available in the value help. So instead of displaying it as a value help, we can also display it like a drop-down field. So let's see how this is done. So for that, again, go back to the ADT and go to the status view. So in the status view, add the annotation object model dot result set dot size category as XS, which stands for extra small. So by adding this annotation, it specifies that it's a small list and thereby it can be displayed as a drop-down list instead of a value help. Okay, so activate this, go back to the application, refresh it, and now you can see that the status field displays the values as a drop-down list. So click on a value and click on go. So here you can see that all the accepted values are getting displayed now. So now as a last step, let us add one search field. Again, let's go back to ADT and go to the projection view. So here add one annotation, search.searchable as true. Again, mention the field which will be having the search option. So for that, maintain the annotation object model.semantic key and specify travel ID. Okay, and for travel ID, we have to add two more annotations. Search dot default search element as true and search dot fuzziness threshold, we are providing the value as 0.90. So with this, we can activate the projection view again. Okay, go back to the application, refresh it again. So here you can see that there is a new search field that has come up. Okay, and it will search the values and display the results. So with that, we are at the end of the demo. So I hope all of you got a good idea about what annotations are used for and what are the different types of annotations, where all we can use it, how it will change the results accordingly. Try it out and let us know in the comments below if you have any questions. Till then, take care and happy learning.